Hi, it's Mark back again with another Photoshop tutorial. This time we're going to be looking at some color grading, and this is the target picture. This is the one I want to grade, and what I thought when I saw this picture was I rather like the color grading across this picture. So this tutorial is about how to nick, borrow, steal, or whatever the grading from this picture, find the black point, the midpoint, the light point, and how to apply them to this. Now it's quite a lot to get through, and only got 15 minutes to do it. Otherwise, YouTube does not let me upload my video. So you may need to stop and redo. All the tasks we'll be doing a few times, so you'll see through repetition what exactly we're going to do. So without further ado, let's start with this picture. One of the ways of doing color grading is to use a gradient map, which is from your adjustment tools. So here's your gradient map. If I click on my gradient map, you can see there's a lot of default ones. A lot of presets come with it already, including legacy ones from older versions of Photoshop, which have got photographic toning in there, so you can actually apply some of these gradings, and they may be to your liking. There's a simple black and white one, or whatever. There's lots in there. Doesn't matter at the moment because we're going to be using our own colours on there. Just click OK. One thing we do want to do, however, is with the gradient map, is we want to change our blend mode to soft light. Not a great deal of difference in there, just a slight black and white gradient over it. We're going to embellish that. With what? Well, with the colours we're going to get from here. So how do I create a swatch, a collection of colours from here? Well, if I go to File, Export and Save for Web, Photoshop builds up a colour table of 256 colours that are in this. This photo's got far more colours than that, but it breaks it out into 256, far more than we need. So I'm just going to change that number there, 256, to 4. Now here are 4 colours which average across all of the colours in that picture. So it's just a little colour table, and we want to save that colour table. So I should choose Save the Colour Table. I'll put it in my Downloads folder, and we'll just call it Temp Table, and then we'll cancel that. And now if I go to Swatches, which is here, and if you don't have that, you could go to Windows, Swatches, and it'll appear. And I load that colour table, so I'm going to click on there. You can just about see it goes off the screen. Import Swatches, and find it, Downloads, Temp Table, open that up, and down here we've got, there's our little colour table. Okay, so that's the first thing. So let's jump back to our away from our lady with a cup of tea to our lady with a cup of coffee, and we go into this gradient map. So click on the gradient map, and then click on here, and I want to start to apply those colours. So let's get my swatches up so I can see them. And we're going to put various stops in here which go across the colours. It doesn't matter what order we do them in. I'm just going to pragmatically go left to right. And it doesn't matter if I get the position wrong, because we'll fix that on the way. So I'm arbitrarily going to click here to add a stop. One click. I now double click that, and it brings up a colour picker for me. So I go over here to pick my first colour. Now, that's quite bright. If you look at this, it goes from black to white, and this is way over here to the white end, to the black end, bringing all those whites with it, and it washes the place. It's obviously in the wrong place. Where's the right place? The brightness value that brought in with that colour pick was 97%. So down here on location, if I change that to 97, notice it throws it all over to 97. That's 100, that's 0, so it throws it over. So let's do another one. Doesn't matter where I create my stop, because you've seen it changes it. One click, double click to get my colour picker, click on the second one in our swatch table. Notice the brightness value is 78. Click OK. Down in the location, 78, and it puts it the right place. Click another one. We're nearly there. Double click on the stop. to bring up the color picker, go over to the third one. Note the brightness value here is 52. Click OK. Location 5, 2. And one more. Double click. Select it from our swatch. Notice the brightness on this one is 25. Click OK. Down in location 25 and click OK. Okay, so that's it. We've actually used those 4 colours in a gradient map to actually start to apply that to a picture. A little bit strong, so I'm going to bring it down. All of this is subjective, so you might not like the colours and the things I'm actually using. That's irrelevant. It's the technique that I'm trying to convey. So that we're nearly there. What I want to do now is actually set a black point, a mids and a highlight, and again I'll go back to our source colours. Now this is a little bit more complicated, so bear with. We're going to do it 3 times, so hopefully you'll be able to pause and replay, but let's get going. So I'm going to create a new layer, which I'm just going to call colours, because that's where I'm going to build a little palette. I'm going to come to my background layer. Now if we go to select colour range, you can use this for building masks against various colours or sample coloured. Let's say I wanted to mask her dress. I could click on there, and by using the fuzziness you can see in here how much or not I'm actually going to be selecting. But the other advantage of colour range is that you can go and choose shadows, mids and highlights. So let's choose shadows, and if I bring that up, you can see that's more than shadows. If I take it right down, it's just the real dark end. So I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. You can see here it's definitely matches hair, taper legs, boots and so on. I click OK. It puts a selection around those. If I now choose Control J to make a copy, I'll hide the background for the moment. In that copy you can see the colours that we allowed to come through. There's more than one. I want one colour to represent the shadows. So I'm going to hold the Command or Control key and click on there to select all those colours in that layer again. Filter, blur, average, create an average colour out of all of those. Control D to deselect. Now press B for my brush tool. So I've got my brush tool, small hard brush, doesn't really matter. I'll choose part of this. I'm still on this layer. I need to go on my colours layer. I'll use part of this and I hold the Option key on a Mac or Alt on a PC and click, and now I've loaded that as a selection. I will just create a little block up here to represent that colour. Having done that, switch my background black on. I do not need this layer in the middle, so I'll just delete that. Let's do it all again. So let's go select, colour range. This time we want midtones. I'm just going to leave it as, obviously you can play with these, I'm just going to leave it as for quickness. Click OK. It's now selected all the midtones. Control J to create a copy of that selection. Switch the background off for now so we can see what we're doing. You can see it's more than one colour in there. We need to average them out. With on the thumbnail, with our mouse on the thumbnail, Command click or Control on PC, and it selects them all again. Average them out, filter, blur, average. We'll get our one colour. Control D to deselect. Go back to our colours layer. We've still got a brush. Take it over part of the sampled area. Hold down your Alt or Option key on a Mac. Click OK to load that up. We're on our colours layer, so let's just do that colour in there. And let's do it again. Switch background back on. Get rid of that layer, we do not need it. And with our background selected, go select, colour range. Where do we get up to? Yes, we've got midtones, so next one's highlights. And I'll just accept the defaults again for now. Tune to your heart's content. And it's selected the highlights. Control J to make a copy of just that selection. Hide the background layer so we can see what we're doing. While we're on that layer, Control or Command click on the Mac to highlight all those highlights, to select all those highlights I should say, and then go filter, blur, average to make one colour out of them. Control D to deselect. Go to our little colours layer, B for brush, we've still got the brush tool. I'm over here, I shall options or alt on a PC, click to load that colour and just draw a little sample here now. There we go. Background back on, that layer's done its job, I get rid of it. Now with this layer here, I come up my tools to the top, which is move, and I drag this layer up to the cup of coffee, cup of tea to the cup of coffee, and drop it over here. Right, there's our 3 sample colours that we're going to be using, representing the highs, mids and shadows from the previous picture. So what we're going to do with them, how we're going to use them? Well, what we do is you add a curves adjustment layer. Curves isn't just used for doing your traditional S-curve type thing for contrast. Just click on reset. You can use it to select the high, the mids and the darks using these 3 eyedroppers, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm deliberately going to make a mistake here, bear with me. So we've selected the curves. If I double click on the highlights and I go to use the dropper over here, click, doesn't do anything, doesn't change anything. Why is that? That is because when you first clicked on this, I'll cancel this, the highlight section is over here on the mask on curves. You need to be on curves itself. So now I click on the double click on the highlights and I bring my dropper over. It picks up that colour. Make sure that all layers are selected for sampling and that you're on something like 5 by 5 rather than a point. A point will hit 1 pixel. That pixel could be the wrong one. 5 by 5 at least is 25 pixels. It's a better chance of getting a nice average across. Not so much on this, which we know is a solid colour, but if you were picking around the hair, there's lots of different colours in there. You'd get the wrong thing down to pixel level. So we've done that. We've loaded it. I click OK. I do not want this to have this as the new colour default, so I click No. But now I click where I think the highlight is on my picture, which I think is down her arm here, or probably more likely on the cup. So I click there. And that has put a cast over everything. So why is that? What's gone wrong this time? Again, a deliberate one really. On the gradient map, I said we should have soft light. On our curves adjustment layer, we should also have soft light. And let's click back on that side of the actual adjustment. Again, we don't want to make the same mistake twice. And now we've done highlights. Let's go to midpoints. So double click on there, choose our midpoint value, click OK, and place it where, and we don't want to do that. So click where we think the mids are. I think they're around there. You might not have seen much of a change there, but rest assured it did change at this end. And then we want dark, so double click on there, click on that, OK, note that, and where is our darkest point? Well, I think it's around by the crook of the elbow or tucked in here, so we're going to go down here for now. There we are. We do not need our little colour swatch there. Curves, bring down the opacity on the curves. Remember, the colour toning and balancing gradient maps are subtle. We don't want it to look exactly like this with all the vibrancy. For one, it's a completely different colour palette with vibrant reds and such. But let's have a look at the before and the after. And I think that's not too bad a job of bringing over the overall colour gradients there and the dark and lighter points into this picture. And that's it. Hopefully I'm under 15 minutes. Race through it, lot to look at, but what have we learned? We've learned about gradient maps, we've learned a lot of default gradient maps, we've learned how we can go into gradient maps, we can apply our own stop points, we've learned we can get those stop points from a colour table, we've learned how to create a colour table based on another picture using File, Export, Save for Web. So saved a colour table, loaded a colour table, we've used select colour range to find the average of darks, mids and lights, and we've gone to a target one, applied the gradient map, choose our own stop points, applied the curves, applied the dark, mids and lights, and blended them in using soft light. That's it. And with that, I am going for a cup of coffee. Bye-bye.